But if you're the National Football League, okay, clearly it's not about talent anymore. It's about something else. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion.
The $50 million robbery of Shedeur Sanders. Because that's what I just witnessed. Everywhere we've seen, everything we've seen, everybody that has seen him play said he is the one or two in this draft. I love Cleveland picking this kid.
The NFL draft is usually a time of celebration, a moment when dreams come true and talent gets recognized. But in the spring of 2025, that dream took a sharp turn for Shedeur Sanders. Instead of a milestone, it became a nightmare. One that might lead to one of the biggest lawsuits the NFL has faced in years. Shedeur, the Colorado Buffaloes quarterback and son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, was once expected to be a top 10 draft pick. But instead, he slid all the way down to the 5th round, pick number 144, by the Cleveland Browns. Now, quiet speculation has grown into loud conversations. Reports say the Sanders family is getting ready to take legal action against the NFL and several team owners, accusing them of collusion, defamation, and causing long-term financial harm. And the more you look into it, the more complicated it seems. From the outside, Shedeur's sudden drop in the draft doesn't add up.
What we're looking at is a convergence of a lot of history falling into one weekend. There's a history of the NFL and their ideas about protecting the shield and what they feel like. There's histories of the Sanders, history of the quarterback, which makes this really complicated and pretty much impossible to find one specific answer about why Sanders fell. He was probably already a fringe first-round pick, so some of the mock drafts were wrong. There's probably some owners out there who wanted to humble him and Sanders, and then there's just the talent that was there. So I'm not, it's okay, I think, to say we don't know what the specific answer is. What I do know, though, and I know it's maybe a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like it's important to say, I want to say this to folks on the internet and folks who are paying attention. This is not the Colin Kaepernick situation. This is important to know. Colin Kaepernick was absolutely blackballed from the league for standing up for folks' rights. This is not what Shedeur Sanders went to. He was embarrassed for 48 hours in the draft, and he ended up going to a Browns team where he still could possibly be a starter on that team because they managed to have half of Wu-Tang Clan's worth of bad quarterbacks, and he can still work his way up to a starter. So this is not the same situation. His career can still end up being okay.
Shedeur Sanders led the entire NCAA in completion percentage with an impressive 74.1%, broke several school records, and was right at the center of what many called the most talked about college football storyline in the last 20 years. With months of hype suggesting he wouldn't fall past the early second round, the expectation was clear. But instead, he had to sit through 3 painfully long days. Then came pick number 144, a moment that quickly went viral for all the wrong reasons. The cameras at his private draft party cut away. The champagne never even got opened. The room went completely silent. Deion Sanders didn't hold back afterward. According to those close to him, he was furious, allegedly saying, "This league just blackballed my son." At first, it sounded like a heartbroken father speaking out, but not long after, the leak started.
Because how in the hell does 32 teams in the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams passed on him? Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times they passed on him. How the hell does that happen? 4 rounds. It doesn't happen to a quarterback. We've never seen anything like this before. We've seen guys drop because of injuries. We've seen guys drop because of off-field issues, but we've never seen a quarterback projected to be a top 20 pick, universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, projected to be a first rounder, in all likelihood a safe bet of a late first rounder, and drop literally to the 5th round. We haven't seen anything like that.
So a lot of times when you go to these combine meetings, teams give you things to challenge you. Teams will have a player's worst plays ready for him, and they'll show him his worst plays and say, "Hey, why don't you explain them?" And Shedeur apparently didn't take to it well. And at one point, one of the few teams that actually was interested in him said, well, what do you make of this really bad play? And Shedeur said, maybe I'm not the guy for you. That's not the answer. Another moment. What they do during the film and the combine and the meetings is teams will install mistakes intentionally planted in the install, and they want you to catch them. Shedeur didn't, and when a coach called him out, once again, it didn't sit well. It's like, bro, there's not many teams needing quarterbacks, especially since Pittsburgh appears to have a deal with Aaron Rodgers and Tennessee's getting Cam Ward. So you're down to the Giants, who were not interested at all, and Cleveland, who traded out of that 2 spot because clearly they were looking for next year's class like the Rams are.
Based on internal messages uncovered by a private investigator working with Shedeur Sanders' legal team, messages that haven't been made public yet but are currently being looked into by several independent news outlets, it looks like a few NFL team owners may have raised red flags about the media frenzy and the branding baggage tied to Shedeur. Even more concerning, there are reported claims that some team ownership groups were having behind-the-scenes talks, quietly advising each other to steer clear of drafting Shedeur unless they absolutely had no choice. People close to the Sanders camp say these private conversations even mentioned things Deion said back during Super Bowl week. Those blunt interviews where Coach Prime made it clear they would call the shots and wouldn't play for certain teams. Basically, they were following the same playbook Eli Manning used.
Will you step in Eli Manning like, Deion Sanders like, to the point where like you told him, hey man, I ain't taking that psych test with the Giants. I followed you after that. I said I wasn't taking it either. Will you step in and do some of that if it's the wrong organization and say he ain't going there?
Yeah, but I'm not going to do it publicly. I'll do it privately.
This time around, though, the league supposedly answered with a wall of silence and behind-the-scenes sabotage. According to insiders, the upcoming lawsuit is expected to claim that the NFL worked together to hurt Shedeur's draft stock, not because of his skills, but because of how things looked in the media, internal politics, and bruised egos.
If they played the cards and picked him up in the 5th round, but I surely would like to know how they knew he would still be there in the 5th round. I've been on that stage for years and years and years. I've never seen them position the cameras in position, give forewarning about who's about to be drafted. I wonder if Cleveland got a call from somebody in the NFL saying, we got to draft this kid. You just robbed this young man of $50 million. And it wasn't on his playing ability. Wow. Shame on you.
Primetime Deion Sanders' natural bravado, coupled with that of his son. They say that the whole interview process wasn't that impressive when he showed up at the NFL scouting combine and refused to work out. That hurt him. The interview process while he was there hurt him, etc., etc. You know what, y'all? I get it. It makes perfect damn sense if he's drafted in the 2nd round. It's the fact that he fell to 5th that's alarming.
After the draft, analysts on Fox Sports tried to make sense of the slide. Some said Shedeur wasn't a once-in-a-generation type of player. Others questioned his intangibles or pointed to the so-called baggage he brought with him. But instead of cooling things down, those comments only added fuel to the fire for Sanders' legal team. They're asking, how does a quarterback with a higher completion percentage than the #1 overall pick fall more than 130 spots? Why did draft experts rate him so highly, yet not one NFL GM publicly pushed back when he slid? From the Sanders camp's point of view, this wasn't just a case of a poor team fit. It looked more like a deliberate effort to send a clear message. Players don't get to control their future. That power belongs to the league. And nothing seemed to capture that message more clearly than Colin Cowherd's widely shared line: "Nobody wants a celebrity backup quarterback." According to sources, that quote is already being looked at closely by attorneys and has shown up in early versions of the legal filing. To them, it's more than just a jab. It's part of the case.
Was out there, I talked to Denzel Ward.
Yep.
I talked to some. But I didn't say the name. But anyway, I done talked to some people. He looked different. There's a difference when that young bull is out there spinning that ball. You hear me? Mm-hmm. Difference. I'm talking about football. I ain't talking about no media and all that hoopla and all them, on Twitter, they putting up the numbers. Some he with 10 for 12 for 2 touchdowns. I'm talking about when he's at the helm, he looks different. Whether he's going with the first team, second team, or third team. It don't matter.
From being buried on the depth chart as a fourth stringer to suddenly becoming a standout on the second team, Shedeur Sanders just pulled off the most impressive quarterback comeback since Tom Brady made the world believe he wasn't finished at 40.
What is it going to take for you to just buy in to Shedeur Sanders when players all around him are telling you how different he looks, how good he looked, how he just has that aura to him? Because it seems like all the players that are around Shedeur Sanders have nothing but great things to say about him and love him. Because again, he clearly just looks different than the rest of the competition that we've seen. And like I said, the last time I've seen guys go for or say things about a certain player like that, it was Baker Mayfield. So could 12 be that guy? How long until we see 12? Because I feel like it's just a matter of...
The same haters who were cheering when he got dropped to fourth string are now scrambling for excuses faster than a glitchy Wi-Fi during the Super Bowl. Get ready, because this isn't just a step up on the depth chart. It's a serious reality check that's got the critics choking on their own words with a big helping of humble pie.
Being said, I see some balls coming out of Shedeur Sanders at that game, and I'm like, kind of looks like a guy.
Yeah, I'm reading.
He can sling it.
I see him, some of the veterans, how they talk to him, mic'd up, see what he's doing in the community.
Yep. Talking about Njoku there?
Njoku, mic'd up. Yeah, once you see, different little interactions and things like that, I know he has the talent. We'll see. It'll be a competition that usually brings the best out of guys, especially young guys. So I'm interested to see how that quarterback situation.
I've heard he's been outstanding.
The Cleveland Browns training camp just turned into the most talked about event in town. All thanks to Shedeur Sanders, who took his spot as fourth string and used it as motivation for one of the most impressive rises the NFL has seen in years. While everyone was busy counting him out and calling his career dead, Sanders was quietly putting together a performance so good that coaches are saying they haven't witnessed anything like it in the last 15 years.
Drafted in the 5th round, all that means nothing when it's time to play football and that whistle blows. He looks different than the rest of the competition. That's what I heard. And I'm talking from not Brother Ward, I'm just talking about from sources that's in that room, that's on that field, that's playing the sport. Man, come on, man.
Yep, coaches with decades of experience are honestly scratching their heads, trying to figure out how someone goes from being a practice squad afterthought to seriously competing for a starting spot in just a few weeks.
Thing is, they never planned on taking him. The problem is, like Ocho Cinco said, you got somebody that has endeared himself to the locker room. And guess what? The difference between him and Tim Tebow, the biggest one, is he can play. He can throw the ball. Tim Tebow running around being an H-back, he can throw the ball. And he's done everything he needs to do. He ain't saying nothing. He ain't rocking the boat. He ain't mad about the reps. He ain't mad about none of that. All the people out there want to see is this, like Tyver said earlier. We want to see what he can do with Jerry Jeudy.
That's it.
I want to see what he can do with David Njoku. I want to see him with Junkins. I want to see him with the first running backs. If you are cooking, if you are beating down the doors with the 3s and 4s, guess what? You deserve more. That was a bar. It rhymed. It was.
Remember when Mary Kay Cabot dropped that bombshell report saying Shedeur Sanders was the 4th string quarterback? The internet blew up faster than a Michael Bay explosion. Critics came out of nowhere, like ants at a picnic, rushing to call his NFL dreams dead on arrival. They claimed he was only shining against guys who'd either end up on practice squads or be out of the league by September. They pointed out he wasn't getting reps in 11-on-11 drills and said he needed to earn his way up the depth chart.
Dude, listen, the guy, all I can say is that he goes where the ball's supposed to go and it looks the way it's supposed to look. Mm-hmm. And when I hear that tells me it sounds like the Browns may have got a steal with Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, because I think he'll have a chance. I'm not saying he's going to be the starting quarterback in September, like week 1 or 2 or whatever it may be early in the year, but I think he's got a chance to develop into something that hopefully would preclude them from having to draft a quarterback first overall or top 5 next year.
He said, I see some balls coming out of Shedeur Sanders at that game, and I'm like, Kind of looks like a guy.
Yeah, I'm reading.
He can sling it.
I see him, some of the veterans, how they talk to him, mic'd up, see what he's doing in the community.
You talking about Njoku there?
Njoku, Mike Napier. Once you see, different little interactions and things like that, I know he has the talent. We'll see. It'll be a competition that usually brings the best out of guys, especially young guys. So I'm interested to see how that quarterback situation.
I've heard he's been outstanding.
Funny how the tables have turned. Those same critics are now watching Sanders climb the depth chart like he's scaling Mount Everest with rocket boosters. The guy they wrote off is now the one they can't stop paying attention to. Every completion sends a message. Every perfect throw is a reminder that real talent doesn't stay hidden forever. And with every practice, he's showing that maybe, just maybe, the Browns stumbled upon their hidden gem.
One thing for the fans to sit here and hype up Shedeur Sanders because we all know how we get about certain players that we like. But it's another thing when you hear it from players who are actually on the field, who are actually in the locker room, who are actually next to this guy every single day. Because I'm sure we've all seen the quote by now by Chad Johnson when they were on the nightcap, and he talked to some young bulls. He talked to Denzel Ward. He didn't want to give away his name, but he already did it. And he said that Denzel Ward says he looks different from the rest of the competition. We've already been seeing.
When word got out that Shedeur Sanders officially moved up to second-team reps, passing Dillon Gabriel along the way, the shockwaves hit from Cleveland all the way to Canton. This wasn't just some small roster tweak, this was huge. One day he's throwing passes to practice squad guys, and the next he's running with the second team, putting real pressure on the starting quarterback spot. The promotion came after Sanders completely dominated minicamp, showing toughness, leadership, and total control on the field. His passes were right on target, hitting receivers in stride. His decision-making was sharp as a blade, and his grasp of the playbook had coaches nodding like proud parents at a school play. But this wasn't beginner's luck. It was steady, calculated execution that the coaching staff just couldn't ignore.
And I don't know, there was never no one thought he was this malcontent or like a bag. It wasn't.
That was the word,
That was kind of what was being said. That was kind of what was being said.
No. The pre-draft process was so unorthodox that he didn't go through it all like everyone else did. And I think there's a lot that we can look back on this thing, especially if he becomes a star in this league and say, you could point fingers in a million ways. Not having a pure agent, not having the workouts that everyone else did, going to these teams, not necessarily being as willing to throw the ball when asked at the All-Star games, like that kind of stuff I think might have stung him and might have turned teams off. But
when Stephen A. Smith starts singing your praises, that's when you know you've officially arrived. The ESPN personality, famous for his fiery takes and no-nonsense analysis, didn't just mention Sanders. He gave him the full Stephen A. treatment. He praised Sanders not only for his top-tier football skills, but also for the intangibles that separate the good from the great. This kid's mindset puts him ahead of the pack, Stephen said, with the confidence of someone who's seen enough football to spot greatness from a mile away. He pointed out Sanders' composure, mental toughness, and relentless drive to compete at the highest level. When Stephen A. says, "It's not just about throws and stats anymore," you better believe the whole football world is paying attention.
This stuff wasn't made up. I covered the draft for ESPN. I'm sitting on the desk. It's Shefty, it's Mel, it's me, it's Lewis. I heard some of the same things that Deion Sanders is talking about. And S.A. and Cantor, you know this, we all have relationships. We all have people who tell us information, they help us prepare to do our job. I heard some of the same things. Some of these things weren't necessarily made up, at least I don't think, from the people that I trust who told me these things. And so
we have seen Shedeur Sanders take second team reps before, but today, interestingly, at least during one move the ball period, and it was really one of the first move the ball periods that we've seen, the Browns actually had Shedeur Sanders go ahead of Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's earned it. And I think we've all seen that. He's done a really, really nice job with all of the things that the Browns have given him to do so far.
Big news out of Cleveland. Things have taken quite a turn. Mary Kay Cabot, who used to be one of Shedeur Sanders' biggest critics, is now giving him credit where it's due. She recently shared that Shedeur has officially moved up to take first-team reps at training camp, ahead of Dillon. According to Cabot, Shedeur didn't just land the spot, he genuinely earned it, showing real improvement and skill. This is a big shift in how Shedeur is being talked about, and it really speaks to his hard work and focus. Cabot now says he's no longer just a rookie backup, he's a real contender for the starting QB job. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has reportedly approved Shedeur for those first-team reps, which are expected to start next month. It's a big step forward, and a clear sign that Shedeur is ready to compete at the top level. As we get closer to the season, all eyes will be on Shedeur to see if he can lock in that starting role. But it wasn't always this way. Back during minicamp and OTAs, Cabot was one of his toughest critics. She constantly labeled him as a fourth-team quarterback and argued that he wasn't getting the reps he needed to show what he could do. For a while, she seemed like one of the only media figures not sold on his potential. While most of the coverage was backing Shedeur, Cabot stood firm in her doubts about whether he was truly ready.
The way it played out yesterday is the way that I thought it would, is that Shedeur right now is the fourth-team quarterback. He did not take any team reps yesterday. Sometimes there's misinformation that comes out of an OTA like that, but he just did not take any team reps. And not just that he wasn't the second guy or the first guy, he didn't take any 11-on-11s yesterday.
At one point, Mary Kay Cabot even claimed that Cleveland wasn't setting up Shedeur Sanders to compete for the starting role. In her view, Shedeur wasn't in line to start any preseason games, at least not yet. While he was holding it down with the fourth-team offense, Cabot highlighted that he wasn't being prepped the same way as Dylan Gabriel or the more experienced Kenny Pickett. According to her, the coaching staff hadn't given Shedeur the go-ahead to practice with the first-team unit, leaving a lot of people wondering what his actual role on the team would be. At that stage, it was obvious Shedeur still had a lot to prove. When Cabot was pushing the idea that Shedeur was stuck as the fourth-string QB, plenty of people pushed back, and Kimberly A wasn't having it. When she was asked whether Shedeur had been buried on the depth chart, she didn't hesitate. Kimberly shut the notion down completely. She said flat out that there was no way you could seriously put him in that spot. Anyone who thought Shedeur was being overlooked, she said, was just getting it wrong. According to Kimberly, it wasn't just unlikely, it was straight up inaccurate to say he wasn't being noticed. His skill, presence, and the way he played made it impossible to ignore him.
He's as old as Harry, and you're sending him out there against these guys. I don't like anything about it.
Extension because it hurts the team every way you look at it.
And then finally, Kmart. If I said Cleveland, are they making a mistake burying Shedeur Sanders on their depth chart?
Greeny, I don't think he's buried at all. I think it's so premature to even frame it like this. I understand the interest given the fact that there are 4 quarterbacks there, but to say a disservice is being done to Shedeur, I think is a bit.
Mary Kay Cabot didn't just stop at calling Shedeur a fourth-string quarterback. She kept doubling down. She even floated the idea that Deshaun Watson could return and take the first-team reps instead of Shedeur. Her comments came across like she was trying to downplay any momentum Shedeur was building, insisting that Watson would likely have the better shot at running the offense. It started to feel like she was more focused on finding ways to discredit Shedeur than acknowledging his progress. Even with his clear potential and steady improvement, Cabot kept pushing a narrative that seemed more about keeping him out of the spotlight than giving him a fair shot.
People kind of went crazy over something I wrote last week, that Deshaun's going to have a chance to come in and compete. I didn't say Deshaun was going to come in and be the starting quarterback, that it will be someone else. I don't know if it will be a rookie that they bring in. I don't know if it will be someone that is on someone's roster right now that they're going to try to trade for.
Mary Kay Cabot didn't hold back when talking about Shedeur Sanders after his ticketing incident. She openly questioned whether he had what it takes to be a true quarterback, calling the situation a serious red flag. Cabot didn't just mention the speeding. She pointed out that Shedeur was going a shocking 40 miles over the limit. She even claimed he was racing another driver who was clocked at 92 miles per hour, describing the whole thing as reckless and dangerous. Her coverage left no room for interpretation. "This isn't what you want from your quarterback," she said, framing the incident as more than just a traffic mistake. It was, in her view, a sign of deeper concerns about his maturity and leadership. But Shedeur's fans weren't having it. The backlash came quickly and loudly. As the criticism piled up, Cabot eventually shut off her comments, clearly seeing that the narrative she'd been pushing was falling apart. She started to realize that sticking to her stance would only hurt her credibility, especially with Shedeur continuing to prove himself. Recognizing that it's okay to change course when the facts do, Cabot finally gave Shedeur his due. She acknowledged his obvious talent and the progress he's made, fully backing him now as a key part of the Browns' quarterback picture. After everything, she had to face the reality. Shedeur Sanders was the real deal. She admitted he had pulled ahead of Dylan Gabriel on the depth chart and was now getting first-team reps. The work Shedeur had put in, the strides he made, and the undeniable skill he showed on the field couldn't be ignored anymore. Cabot came to terms with what had become crystal clear. Shedeur was a serious contender for the starting quarterback job. His moment had arrived.
Seen Shedeur Sanders take second-team reps before, but today, interestingly, at least during one move-the-ball period, it was really one of the first move-the-ball periods that we've seen, the Browns actually had Shedeur Sanders go ahead of Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's earned it, and I think we've all seen that. He's done a really, really nice job with all of the things that the Browns have given him.
Mary Kay Cabot even went so far as to say that Shedeur Sanders had left a strong impression every time he spoke to the media. She pointed out how his poise and maturity during interviews only added to his rising reputation, stressing that the Browns were taking everything into account. According to her, Shedeur seemed to stand out above every other quarterback on the roster. It was becoming more and more obvious that his progress wasn't limited to just what he was doing on the field. He was also stepping up as a leader off of it. Her change in tone showed just how hard it was to ignore Shedeur's impact and the potential he was starting to reveal in every part of the game. Shedeur Sanders has now shown, without question, that his skill and drive are the real deal. Even Cabot, once one of his harshest critics, has come around. His development as a player, his ability to exceed expectations, and the way he carries himself in front of the media have all helped shift the conversation. He started out being dismissed as a fourth-string quarterback, but Shedeur kept pushing, eventually moving ahead of names like Dillon Gabriel. Through strong showings during minicamps, OTAS, and the lead up to the season, he's proven he's ready for the spotlight. And it's not just Mary Kay who's flipped her stance. A lot of people who once doubted him are now among his loudest supporters, giving him credit for the growth he's shown and the potential he brings to the team. Shedeur's rise has been all about resilience. He's turned criticism into motivation, and that dedication has earned him respect. His progress isn't just about football, it's also about the leadership and maturity he's displayed along the way. As Shedeur keeps growing, it's clear he's not just another rookie, he's on track to become a breakout star. What do you think? Has Shedeur truly earned his spot as a starting QB contender, or is there still more work to do? Was Mary Kay right to change her opinion, or should she have stuck with her original take? What do you think was the turning point that flipped the script for Shedeur? And do you believe this support he's getting will keep building as the season goes on?